Alrighty, so let's go ahead and get started with the Q&A session. So first, I would like everybody on the panel to introduce yourself with your name, pronouns if you would like, role at your company, and then a little bit about how you got involved with your ERG.
So my name is Lizzie Ladegard. I am part of CVS Health Aetna, and I am part of our Pride Plus organization. I'm also the local engagement chair for the CT chapter. So we do lunches every third Wednesdays and fun outings. We're actually planning a rock climbing soon. But I got involved because I was president of my SGA in high school, and I was part of UHeart's Spectrum in college. So I've always been very involved with pride groups around me.
Hello, my name is Heather Smith. I work for Otis Elevator. I am part of their digital technology group, and I am in the service governance organization. I work on vendor management, among other various details. I work with financial accountability and process improvements for their metrics and reporting. A lot of other kind of probably boring stuff, maybe. But for the ERG, it's called Otis Pride, and I am the events chair. Very recently, the events chair, but I've been a member for about a year. Did you ask about what we did at the college level? I can't remember. I saw that.
That'll be the next one.
That's the next one. Okay, I won't skip ahead. Sorry, I was memorizing them. But yes, Otis is where I am now, and I am very happy to be here. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Sounds like we know each other at work. My name is Tim Lombardi. I am a he/him, and excuse me, I'm a director in the enterprise process improvement and data science at the Hartford. Right? So we'd be friends. I have a husband of 18 years. I have a 19-year-old daughter who goes to Eastern, and I have always been a little bit of an activist, sometimes on the wrong side, as some might say. But in the corporate environment, this is a great way to just get involved and help folks and maybe push some of the boundaries. Hopefully not push them too far, but go right up to the edge of the cliff and not go over the cliff. And so I am the co-chair with my friend Chris here for the Pride ERG at the Hartford. We have about 5,000 members and allies at the company right now.
I'm sorry.
Over to me. Yeah, so my name is Brian Nowitzki. My pronouns are he, him, and I work for Lockheed Martin in the Rotary Mission Systems division, and within that division I work for Sikorsky, which is a helicopter company down in Stratford, if you're familiar with that. For Lockheed Martin, I'm a strategic planner, so I help understand the helicopter market, where it's going, and ensure that we're making the right investments, internal resources to get to where we need to be within the rotorcraft industry in 2040 and beyond. So it's a really interesting job. I've been with Lockheed for 4 years, a little over 4 years, and I actually sought out them because of external clues that I saw that they were an inclusive employer. So as soon as I joined, I looked onto their website and found we call them BRGs, a business resource group, and I found that, and I reached out, and I started becoming involved in the ERG or BRG when I started, and now I'm the communications lead, and also we have like a national event every year, and I'm part of the planning committee for that. I think I covered all the questions.
Hello, Dan DeMunio, he, him. I'm an actuary at Travelers Insurance, so statistical finance type work. Maybe a quick question, any actuary majors here in the audience? No? Friends of actuaries?
Don't take it personally.
Yeah. So I've been with Travelers about 13 years, and I've been part of our ERG, our Pride and Allies ERG, since we formed about 12 years ago. So it was part of the grassroots organization to get that formed. As part of the ERG, I'm on the chair of our outreach committee. So that's all sorts of community engagement, things like this, things like conference engagement or engaging with local nonprofits to set up volunteer activities, etc. So it's great to have kind of the maybe actuary analytical stuff, and then the fun LGBTQ plus stuff to go along with it.
Awesome. Thank you all for introducing yourselves. So my first official question for everybody is, what's the name of your ERG group if you haven't already mentioned it? I think most of you, if not all, hit on that. And also, did you belong to a similar group in college? And what is the benefit of being part of an ERG in your experience?
So I already kind of went over that a little bit. Sorry, I jumped the gun. But the reason I say that is because I'm 1 year out of college, so I still reference my college experience a lot, and I encourage you to do so, especially in job interviews. But yeah, I was a part of my GSA in high school as the president, and I was a part of Spectrum, which is University of Hartford's GSA. So I joined because I wanted to continue that involvement. You get worried when you're about to transition out of college that there's going to be a drop-off, and I was very excited that there was not. But a benefit specifically for early in career is leadership experience. In my role, I'm a Medicare analyst, but I don't have much leadership experience yet, but being on the leadership board for Pride Plus at CVS has given me early in career leadership experience.
Okay, so it's been many more years since I was in college. I won't tell you how many, but when I was there...
Aren't you still in college?
I am still in college, actually. I'm graduating next month with my master's, my MBA, actually. Yes. But when I was first in college, and by the way, my kids are in the audience, and my daughter is going to college as well in August at the same school I went to. In any case, I digress. The school I went to, the group was called Be Glad. Now, keep in mind it was the 90s. There, I said it, you do the math. And that stands for bisexuals, gays, lesbians, and allies against discriminations. We were very creative back then. So I think some of the benefits of being part of an ERG are probably pretty obvious, professional networking and having that community support. But I think for me, it's being able to share my energy. I don't know if any of you can tell that I have energy. And I really like just bringing that and sharing it. Stop laughing, children. I like bringing that to and just sharing that. I think that the work day can sometimes be a little kind of dull, and just being able to just share a little bit of joy and happiness throughout the day is really nice. I think a lot of people need that, and it just feels nice to be able to be the person that, to bring that. So.
All right. So God, college.
Mm-hmm.
It was 90s too. So in my day, there was no ERG, there was no support group. Basically, we had a coming out group, which was a support group for folks coming out and helping them navigate waters to be safe. At the time, it wasn't safe to be out and gay. And so that group was really formed to help people that were trying to come out, how to do that effectively, when it's safe to, when it's not. The funny story there is, so I was paranoid to go because I didn't want to go, because then somebody's going to see you, and then somebody's going to know that you're gay, and then somebody's going to tell somebody. And so it was this whole thing of me being petrified to go. I finally worked up the courage to show up. There were 5 people in the group at the time, and it came up at the March on Washington in '93.
Oh, no, it was there in 96.
Yeah.
We were there for 8.
Yes. So I was in the group. It came up that was going on, and it was like the next month. And I'm like, why aren't we going? And there weren't any hotels or anything. We're like, well, we'll just drive. I went to University of New Hampshire, and so we drove down, and we said, if anybody hooks up, we're all going to sleep there. And that was the deal. We all stay together, and if we don't find anywhere, we'll sleep in the car. And we did sleep in the car one night, and it was by far the most important thing that I ever did coming out, and it was because I went to that group the one time before the March on Washington. So being able to see groups of gay people that are just out and comfortable and getting on the subway with full of gay people celebrating being gay was wonderful. I also joined the a cappella group on campus. We had one male, one female a cappella group, and I still hang out with the guys that I sang with. We still do a reunion every year, so we have about 1,100 folks that have been part of this and come back for the reunion every year. And that was the important part that I say there is just join things. The more people you know, the more experience you get, the broader your network, the bigger your network, the more you get to know other people and opportunities open up. I don't know how long I'm supposed to talk, but I'm going to keep going until you tell me not to. And then, so I was working at a company that I'm going to try not to say, but I'm sure I'm going to slip at some point. For 21 years, it was another insurance carrier, and we wanted to start an ERG. Again, this was post-AIDS epidemic, but at the same time, there was still a lot of uncertainty, and people were very scared. You know, it was the whole, like, we're using the same water fountain, can I catch it? And so a couple of us wanted to start an ERG, which wasn't a thing. But, so we had Globe, talk about being creative. It was gay, lesbians, and bisexual employees. And we were not supported by our company. We wanted to set up a table. And typically, like, groups, you know, you could go to the cafeteria during lunch and set up your table, and you can kind of hand out materials or sell stuff, whatever. And we were told that it's not fair to have people eating their lunch look at us. So they put us under the stairwell in the cafeteria. And everything that we handed out has to say, this is not a company-sponsored group. All work done by this group is off company time. You know, to here I am today, co-chair of an ERG at a big company that's doing so much. And the ERG to me is just an opportunity to find connections, and coming from my background, that safe place, and knowing when you're not safe. You know, nobody can be themselves all the time. That's just a fact. You know, you're gonna draw trouble. And so understanding being yourself and bringing your full self to work at all times is really important. But there's also times that maybe you can't be all of the things that you want to be all of the time. And so helping folks navigate those waters, I think, is a really important aspect to the ERGs. I'll shut up now.
And it's been a really long day. It started in New Jersey very early this morning. So can you repeat the question? I know it was.
No,
I know
you're
the first
okay.
part-
That's a
And
hell
I
of
might
a
have
hike.
the
I
version that's
understand.
I think I had it. The first part was definitely about college. What was the second? Was there a second part there?
Second part is just kind of like, what have the benefits of being in your ERG been for you?
Got it. Okay. So when I was in college in the early 2000s, I was very in the closet. So, like, I'm sure I would think it existed, but I did not search it out because I was just not ready to go there or be there. So I can't speak to that as my college experience. I came out later in life, close to when I was 30. And I work in the defense industry, obviously, and I worked previously Lockheed at another defense contractor that was not inclusive. One of the reasons I wanted to leave there was because of that, and I was, getting more comfortable with myself, and I knew I couldn't bring my full self to work there every day. So I know what it's like to not bring your full self to work, and I know what it's like to bring my full self to work and be part of a BRG, and it's so like uplifting, and it's such a different experience to know what it can't be, like what you said, what it can't be and what it can be. It's like night and day, and it opens the aperture on like your work self and just like your entire self to be able to like be yourself. Most of the time, like again, like there's some times where you can't all the time, but yeah, it's awesome.
Which is just true for everyone.
Yeah, not
everyone
not
has
even
to cover it something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not just LGBT.
Yeah, not just LGBTQ. So yeah.
So I hadn't been part of our Rainbow Center at a school I had gone to Bryant University. I know we had one, I just hadn't been part of it at the time. And so that was one of the reasons I really wanted to be part of an ERG at work. And helped form that back in 2012ish, 2013. For me, some of the big benefits have been just getting to connect with other people, whether part of the LGBTQ plus community or our great suite of allies that are also part of our ERG. It's a chance for, I think, me personally to feel like I can make a little bit of a difference, whether it's bringing in speakers to talk to our wide 30,000 employee base, or whether it's our ERG that's pushing for improvements in our benefits, like surrogacy, IVF, etc. So just getting to make a little bit of a stamp on something maybe a little bit broader outside what I might traditionally do in my regular day job. And I'll say just get to network and meet new people. So there are people that are people that I consider to be leaders at our company, and just an opportunity to get to know people a little bit more. Whenever I'll say people in my area bounce around a little bit within the company, so we have multiple functions kind of within actuarial, multiple lines of business that we support, and just getting to meet people across the company. So when we are looking for that new role, new exciting opportunity, you may have a little bit of an in and pick someone's brain on, oh hey, you're in this area, I'm looking to join in that area, can you tell me more about it? So I've really enjoyed being part of my ERG.
Awesome, thank you all. So my next question in a similar vein is kind of really about like what your ERG does. What kind of resources do your ERGs provide? What kind of events, conversations, development opportunities does your ERG group do?
So we do kind of a mix of events. Every third Wednesday, we have lunch together in the office, which is like kind of just our standing appointment. But we also have monthly meetings, which are member hosted. Our last one, it was just last week, but since this month is about Earth Day, we talked about how environmentalism issues unfairly impact the LGBT community because we're more at risk of being lower income, living in worse areas. It's like the more minority groups you're a part of, like the more likely you are to be affected by environmentalism issues, asthma. So we talk about that. We've talked about menopause and how it affects the trans community. We do a lot of different things. We also do social events, specifically like rock climbing. Some of the people in our group run roller derby, so we've gone to see their roller derby matches. But we host a lot of events. It's normally a mix of social and professional, because obviously we do want those opportunities for mentoring and networking, but it's also just important to connect and to leave space just to hang out in a non-work setting.
Okay, Otis Pride actually has been really ramping up our activities in the last couple of years for sure. We, no doubt, June is our busiest of months for obvious reasons, but we do have year-long activities, opportunities for learning and development. We host Heritage Days. We have lots of different community outreach, and during Pride Month is when we're going to see most of the fun stuff start happening. So we've done Spotify playlists. A lot of stuff is virtual now too, because we want to make sure that we're making accommodations for all of our hybrid people and our very large remote team. So we'll do book clubs and lots of different things like that. We participated in local Pride events. We've had luncheons. But probably the fan favorite is Drag Bingo with Elsa. So that is definitely the number one every year. And our Pride Month is kicked off with the Pride flag raising at our Farmington World Headquarters location by our amazing CEO and President Judy Marks.
That's right. Hartford does a lot. So we have courageous conversation circles, which are set up in small groups to get people to talk about topics that are hard. We have our Pride leadership team is actually really large. So we've got like a communications team, a marketing team, a budget team. We have chapters in every office. We have chapter leads. We've got all of these things. So Chris and I kind of try to wrangle all of that. It's about we commit 20% of our time technically that's what we're assigned. Obviously, it's a lot more than that. But we have a monthly luncheon. We support and sponsor a lot of the parades and events. We sponsored the Out and Equal, and we are in the HRC 100. So we went to the awards banquet in New York a couple months ago. I'm sure I'm forgetting.
So similar, we have chapters at each of our major sites where there's on-site activities that are planned by the employees at that within that group, and then there's also like a leadership team within each division that plans kind of the coordination of that, and then also a lot of like the virtual events. There's teams then also internationally that have like local events, and we try to like do different virtual events where all of us come together and support speakers or someone from the leadership team. We support like our trans community and their allies, if like they have a son or daughter transitioning, to support the parents of the family. We offer resources to help educate sometimes is needed. What else? And then you mentioned June. So June is also a big month for us where we do our Pride Leadership Forum, which is at our headquarters in Bethesda, which is also like a conference center and hotel where hundreds of us gather and spend a couple days with external speakers and internal speakers talking about the issues of the community and help support the leadership, the LGBTQIA leadership within Lockheed. And then we stay, not everyone, but a group of us stays the weekend after it, which is Capital Pride Weekend, where we have a float and do a bunch of activities. It's a really uplifting event.
I'll say in my experience, we've done very similar things, whether it's speakers or, so I mentioned Out and Equal a moment ago. I think you mentioned that. Actually, Travelers to Hartford and Liberty had actually done a joint session at that a couple of years ago. But I'll say, in addition to all of those things already mentioned, a couple of things that we've done are, we call them listening sessions. So unfortunately, there's been some tough things in the news over the last couple of years. And so providing a safe space and forum for our employees to just voice some of the things that they're feeling. It's actually been a really neat opportunity. Like our CEO has even called into those to just listen and hear what the employee base is experiencing and feeling about some of the troubling things that have happened in the country over the last couple of years. I'll say country as well as international. We have a couple offices overseas. I imagine you all do as well. So in addition to that, one other thing I'll mention is we have we call it Allied Pursuit program. So kind of like Trivial Pursuit, where it's like collect all the boxes. And so it's like there's an education one, there's an engagement one. Can't remember some of the other ones, but just an opportunity for, I'll say, either allies of the LGBTQ+ community to learn and get more engaged, as well as, so me, gay man, I want to be an ally of some of the other, I'll say, letters of the LGBTQ+ group, and so if there's ways that I can learn to be a better ally of the trans community, etc., I certainly want to take those opportunities myself to learn, engage, and help.
Awesome, thank you all. So my next question for you is, and some of you all have already touched upon this, but if there are people at your company who are not part of the LGBTQ+ community but are allies, what are the ways are there for them to get involved with or support your ERG?
So in order to join our Pride Plus, people sign in on our HR site. And when you register, people either register as a member or an ally. So we have like tailored newsletters for Pride members versus allies versus leadership. So we kind of target people differently, but we love having our allies in the community. It's also very encouraged to be like across a lot of CRGs. So even though I'm in Pride, like I'm part of the BCRG and the ACRG, and I know a lot of other people, like we advocate for other groups that are a part of our community, and we encourage our Pride Pride Plus members to attend heritage events for other communities that they aren't a part of. So once you're part of one of them, you're kind of part of all of them. It's kind of a package deal. But we have a lot of allies across the company, and I think it makes people more comfortable that they can officially join, but as an ally.
I would say we have a lot of that happening too. We definitely have allies coming over from like Women in Technology and various other ERGs, but we don't make any distinctions between our allies or our community members. We hope and expect everyone will participate and reap the same benefits and enjoyment and support from the community. And so I mean, you probably wouldn't know who was who if you walked into one of our meetings, honestly. So yeah, we don't we encourage everybody, honestly. My boss is straight as a pin, and I was like, you better join, and he's like, okay. So yeah, everyone is welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's very similar with us. Like I said, we have the 5,000 allies. We have 3,000 of those are members. There isn't really a huge distinction, except the members are not expected to, but far more willing to participate and actually take some of the tasks. So say we're doing something somewhere, you can call on a member in that office, and they're usually much more willing to help. Allies, I mean, anybody can become an ally, and got the newsletters, I feel like we're kind of everywhere. We have our internal social media, and that's kind of constantly going, people sharing their stories. We do the Pride Socks Days. And people just post pictures of their socks, and it's a lot of fun stuff, really.
Yeah, similar. So we don't distinguish between allies and in the community, although I wouldn't be surprised if there's, maybe 50% or if not more that are allies within our BRG. We ask our allies to be active allies. So just signing up isn't an ally. We want their voice in the room when we're not there. So we hold we do really good things with a couple external speakers to help people understand what an ally can be and the power that they hold when our voices aren't there. So we do try to focus on that, and again, just education.
I'd say very similar. We have a group of both people part of the LGBTQ plus community as well as allies. I'll say even amongst our leadership team, we have two chairs. One's part of the community, one is an ally. In my committee, I have a co-chair. She's an ally. Both of those two allies happen to have LGBTQ plus children, so they do have maybe a personal connection there. But I'll say it's fantastic just having a group of allies, both part of, say, leadership team or just out there in the community that we can go to events with. And again, as I mentioned before, at least for me personally, again, I am not all of the letters LGBTQ plus, and so I want to be an ally for the others, and so I like to think of us as all allies for each other, even for the folks that are with LGBTQ plus themselves.
Awesome. Thank you all for the excellent answers. So my next question for you all is, what has your experience as an LGBTQ identified person been like within your field?
So again, this is kind of recent for me, but stepping into a new role, especially very early in career, I was kind of nervous to come out to my boss, but the opportunity came along to be on the Pride Plus leadership, and you need your manager's approval to be on the leadership team. So I kind of had to come out to him, but he was just like, "Oh, that's great," and I wasn't expecting that. I don't know what I was expecting, but even just so I'm part of a development program for CVS. And even just saying to the other people in my program, "Oh, I'm on leadership for Pride," and I've never had anything but positive responses. So I know, when I was a kid, it was definitely different and it was scary. But now it's just we're just so open about it, and it truly isn't a big deal, at least at our company, and I think it's probably the same at their company. So it's been nice.
I would agree. For me, you'll probably be surprised. Most people don't. They don't expect it when I. When I say, I usually have to offer that information, and I get the usual, I didn't know, I didn't realize, and I'm always a little amused by their reactions, but I've been fortunate enough where I've never actually had a negative experience in any workplace. So I've been very lucky because of that, but because of the way I present, I think that's probably the reason why, because growing up and working, from the years when I did, I definitely happened to plenty of my peers. I just, I didn't look the way a lot of my friends did, so wasn't subjected to a lot of that, but it doesn't mean I didn't witness it. I will say though that at Otis, it has been absolutely the best that I could ever hope for. Aside from my college experience with my, the groups there and my family, I've never felt more accepted for who I am. I never hesitate to say I'm part of Pride. I'm part of the steering committee. I don't hide my team's groups on my channel list. They're front and center. I have my pronouns right in my signature, and and I work with global teams. It's not something that I feel the need to not share. So yeah, it's been very, very positive. I'm very fortunate.
So, being one of the people that's asking to set up a gay table in the 90s, needless to say, I was far more out. I can say it was fucking awful, to be honest with you. There was just a lot of overt negativity, and people would just say it to your face. I had managers say it. They moved me off their team. And back then was not protected. Your job wasn't protected. So if anybody finds out you're gay and they want to fire you, they can. And that's the only reason that they need, is that they think you're gay. So it was a very tough time in the beginning. We've come a very long way. And I never thought I would see marriage equality. Amazing. All the things that have come, obviously we've backtracked in ways that are very disturbing to me in the past few years, but I will say it still exists. That hatred, that misinformation, it's just not overt anymore. And so it's very hard to have the conversation with somebody that won't say it overtly. At least you can, if somebody says something. Chris and I were talking over dinner this evening around, when somebody's intent is to hurt you or not. And I was saying, like, for me, fag is a term of endearment with most people in my personal circle. Most people can use that, and it's totally fine. There are people that use it, and that they're using it in a negative way. And so, being in the workplace, the ERGs are doing a lot, our company is doing a lot. My frustration, coming from my background, is just that there isn't any teeth behind it yet. Right? There's a lot of give these people grace, have a conversation with them, and I don't know many companies that are really willing to actually put teeth behind these DEI measures. And so I would like to see more of that, but I don't take away the progress we've made, and I don't feel uncomfortable at work anymore. It's nothing like that. But
yeah, there's always work to do, right? Like that's part of it. That's part of the challenge. And we definitely experienced some of the negativity, but I don't think that's ever going to go away. At my last job, I was not out, and I traveled a lot with the same people for a decade, like 10 years of my life, and I presented differently, and I covered. My fiance's, we've been together for 9 years, so many of that we were together, and just never brought that part of my life in the conversation because of some of the negativity that was said with the team. Like I didn't even realize it. I mean, I knew it was like not healthy, but I didn't realize it until now I'm on the other side, like how damaging that is to, you know, myself and my partner, and it's just crazy to like think of the difference. And then when I started Lockheed, like I was so nervous talking to my manager to just even say like in a conversation like my partner, you know, David, and like that kind of thing, and it's just like so nervous. But now it's like I don't even think about it. Like it's just, it is what it is, and I haven't had any pushback.
Nice to have it normalized.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's good, great word. It's so normalized, like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, it's just crazy to think back how I was and how I am, and what the difference is that an inclusive employer can be, and like they, like mean it. It's not like it's from the top down, them like pushing the message. It's from the bottom up, from the employees wanting the BRG and them supporting it, and the activities that we do.
I've been really fortunate. I've never had a poor experience at work at all for being part of the LGBTQ plus community. So really fortunate for that. That's probably a product of both, I think maybe supportive companies, supportive coworkers, and maybe a product of the times. Things are maybe a little different now than back in the 90s. I remember when I first out of college, I was at the Bushnell Theater in Hartford, and I was with my husband at the time, my boyfriend, and like 2 rows in front of me was a VP, a couple levels directly above me. Like I would present to him, and I would need to like convince him of something. I remember being, oh shoot, is this gonna affect anything, do anything? And like, totally unfounded worry. I've never encountered a single person that's been anything less than supportive. So I've been, I guess, just really, really fortunate in that perspective.
Can I maybe tack on to what you were saying too? Is that what I think it's really funny. So one of my best friends at work, he is a cis, male, straight, white guy. He is the epitome of all of those things. We became friends, and I was very nervous to come out to him. And he has become the biggest ally. He's the first one to be like, can I say this? Sometimes he's like, okay, the intent is always the thing behind it.
Yeah.
But he calls me out on a somewhat regular basis because in my mind, I cover without thinking about it.
Yeah.
And he'll talk to me like after a meeting, and he's like, you realize that you use gender neutral pronouns the entire time that you were talking about your life. And I'm like, I did? And it's just become so much like if I'm presenting to a large group, I automatically, I don't think about it. That's just the way my brain goes, is I don't talk about my husband. I don't say he, him. I say my spouse, all of those kinds of things. And it's so great to have a friend at work that actually calls you out on your shit.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for sharing. So my next question kind of relates to what some of y'all have already touched upon. What does diversity and LGBTQ inclusion mean to an employer, especially to your company, and how does it show up in your workplace?
I think it's kind of contrasting. Obviously, the employees and a lot of higher ups do really care about diversity, but I will also say there's a big push for corporate diversity just for the sake of diversity. So I know for my LDP, one of our hiring questions is, what does diversity mean to you? And that's what we screen candidates on. So I will say in the workplace, sometimes it can be a little bit performative, but it's our job to make it not performative and to take it seriously, and for us to push them to really back up what they're asking, back up the statistics they want, and to say, well, why do you want that? Well, what's your point you're proving? So making them mean what they say.
So to answer this question, I'm going to focus on inclusion. So inclusion means creating a space where an individual can feel safe, physically and emotionally, to be their authentic selves. And for Otis, this means creating space, processes, systems that will allow an individual to accomplish that. Sorry, my daughter is nodding at me in support. Thank you, dear. So, our commitment to this is illustrated by our ability to attract, develop, and retain a workforce that is representative and mirrors the diversity of people who live and work in the communities where we operate.
I'm in final agreement with you.
Thank you. I've been rehearsing it all day. What was the second part of that question?
How does diversity and inclusion show up within your workplace?
Okay. So I think I had a second part, and that was how we support that, and that was through our benefits. We have extensive benefits available through HR, and the first part is defining. Obviously, the benefits packages are available to the employee and their family. So, ensuring and communicating, what does that mean? What is family? Well, family is any spouse, any child. So that's first and foremost. We have extensive crisis counseling. We have our medical plans that support transition therapies. We have virtual counseling for advice on adoption, or just regular counseling if you need someone to talk to, advice on relationships, lots of different resources available. So Otis really goes above and beyond with offering those kind of resources. And then, of course, the ERG itself, so to have that extra community of people.
So I won't restate, a lot of it's exactly the same. I would love to go where you did a little bit. I love the fact that we were able to have that conversation in our team. So with my boss, he was like, look, this is dropping, and I don't really know why. And somebody on the team was brave enough to say, like, I don't feel right now that if, as a white guy, I'm next to somebody else of a diverse whatever, that if we're the same, I'm not going to get the job. And so I don't feel right now that it's always going to be the right person. And our conversation was probably the most important part to me versus just being like, well, that's going to happen when you do these things. And so I think there's always going to be, we're talking about SOGI right now, and adding that to sexual orientation and gender identity to our HR. And there's going to be some pushback, right? And my friend that I was talking about, I asked him, I'm like, if we bring this up, what are you going to think? And he's like, I'm straight. Why does a gay person make me have to identify as straight at work? And quite honestly, it's kind of a fair question. Being able to have that dialogue is the only way that we're going to move forward. So I think we're going to get there. The arc of history is long.
Similar. So it's a business imperative for Lockheed to be a diverse employer because it benefits the employee base. Happier employers, stay longer. There's less retention, turnover. That's viewed from the highest levels of the corporation. It shows up, when you start day one with your orientation, with being provided the information of not only about the Pride ERG, but all the other ERGs and exactly how you can become a member. It shows up in our benefits as well, and resources to support, folks that need it, especially, the trans community right now. It's crazy what's going on in so many states, and specifically in Texas and Florida. So like they provide outreach to those members of the community and their families. So I think there's an active participation within the BRG and the leadership team to ensure that the employees' voices are heard, and we're at the table, which you see directly with the benefits. Like if we weren't, they wouldn't support Dave being on on their health insurance, even though we're not married yet. So.
Maybe instead of just echoing things already mentioned, maybe I'll put more of a personal spin on this. So I have a team of folks that I manage, and just thinking about the folks on my team, I want them to be able to bring their whole selves to work. So people that are happier, people that are enjoying their workday, do better work. Like it just makes business sense for people to be able to talk about their personal life and not have any stigma or judgment, whether it's LGBTQ+ or anything else. And frankly, I've found just for me having a diverse team with different backgrounds that span maybe across, say, LGBTQ+ or different heritages, or folks with different maybe neurodivergence, really just makes for a stronger team in general. And so I'd say it's very valuable for me, and I think that is very common across, frankly, probably all of our companies.
Awesome.
Wait, I have a go back though. One, you said show up, and I think I hit on benefits stuff. Another thing is the physical cues of support. So we have lanyards that are rainbow lanyards. We have pronoun pins. We have coffee mugs with our Pride BRG and rainbow. And if you're on a Zoom meeting, you can have a rainbow flag background. The physical cues also show up that people can see that and know that they're supported from not only within the community, but there's so many allies that just have the rainbow lanyard. So it's nice to see that. I think it shows up regularly within our offices, virtually.
Awesome.
It's
Thank
made
you.
it tough though, because sometimes I'm like, oh, is this person LGBTQ+, or they just now? I don't know. They have the background.
But it's when they have the safe place stickers.
Yeah.
I don't know when that was, probably in 2000s.
They're coming back actually on TikTok.
Are they? And I will say, I don't know that I ever commented on one of them, but every single time I saw one, there was a little bit of the water level increase. My anxiety came down a little bit just knowing that there were these people that were willing to put that there.
Yeah. No, it's so nice when you're, even if it's not on the background, but you see an executive's office on a Zoom call and they have a little pride flag in the back on their bookshelf.
Exactly.
Something like that, it's just
I saw that once. Turns out he was actually gay, but I didn't know. Next day I wore a pride shirt, and it's kind of my bat signal.
Thank you all.
Hey, Bam.
So my second to last question for you all is, what is some advice that you would give to somebody who wants to start an LGBTQIA at their company and isn't really sure, is their company going to be accepting or not? How do I even go about finding other people to make this group with? Things like that.
So I don't really have a whole lot of advice on this. All of our ERGs are really established, and they have been, but definitely reach out to other CRGs if there isn't a Pride one yet, but there are other resource groups. See what they did, see how they came about, and kind of tune into other resources.
Yeah, I would say, when you're talking about starting an ERG at a corporate level like we all are, it's much different than it would be starting an ERG at a small business per se. But my advice in I guess any generic scenario would be just to start small and manage your expectations. Don't get burnt out, and pace yourself. Take any advice that you can get and determine for yourself what is good and what is bad. Learn from other companies, and check out what has worked for them and what has not worked. If you have family members who belong to ERGs. You might have older relatives who belong to them. See, just ask anybody who, for advice. If your company, I can't imagine a scenario where a company doesn't have an ERG already. So if you're going to start a brand new one, then the most logical place is to start with your DE&I department, your human resources group, and ask them what the process is. That's the first step. But also pace yourself.
Yeah, I would say have a friend. You're gonna need somebody to bitch with about all this stuff, and somebody that's gonna be like, keep going. Patience, obviously, and be resilient. Like, you're gonna get knocked down.
Yes.
People are gonna say some hateful things, and just, it's kind of just true in life. The more resilient you are, the more successful you'll be, because you got to roll with the punches. But sometimes it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's still progress.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think I would, and this is all hypothetical, I haven't done it before, but start small, start with a conversation, but also like try to start with the right in mind, which is what is the why of why do you want to start it, and try to define that and get people to be, help you uplift your voice and why you want to start an ERG. I don't have anything too articulate to say, sorry.
Maybe just 2 other things to add. So HR is your friend. I think folks, at least maybe me a decade ago, thought HR was this scary organization that you only talk to if you're in trouble. But I'll say, in my experience, HR has been a extremely valuable aid in this sort of thing. And whether you're, say, forming a new ERG or maybe trying to push your ERG to the next level, they're a really valuable resource. The other piece of advice I'd have is find an executive sponsor, so someone that has a little bit of sway and able to connect with the right people that's going to go to bat for you. Some of these decisions end up being made, say, behind closed doors at some leadership table that you're not a part of, and if you have someone in the room that's going to fight for you, always nice help. So allies, I guess.
Awesome, thank you all. And then my last question for you all before we open things up to the audience is, what's some advice that you would give to a young LGBTQ professional entering your field who doesn't know where to begin looking for inclusive employers?
Definitely research the companies, research their website. Don't be afraid to ask about it in an interview, about what different ERGs companies have available, and just go into it trying to be yourself as much as you can, even though it definitely will be a process coming out along the way, especially as you navigate teams, because you are going to switch jobs a lot early in career.
I would say if you have a specific company in mind, first thing you want to do is check out their website. A lot of times they'll have their ERGs listed on their website along with their SDGs, and you can read all about all of their ERGs. So that's the first resource. You can check out sites like Glassdoor, although definitely take everything you read there with a grain of salt.
But it is a fun read.
It is fun sometimes, that's for sure. LinkedIn is also pretty good. Probably the best resource is going to be the Human Rights Campaign, in my opinion. They're a great tool for advocacy, and they're going to give you a lot of great advice on employment and different companies that you can look to. So, or just come to Otis.
Nice.
Got you covered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in violent agreement again. But I will say, from a negative side, take the jump. People leave managers, not jobs.
Yeah.
And you can be at a phenomenal company that does all the right things and work for a dick. And you leave. Like, don't stay somewhere you hate. There's no reason to hate your job.
Spend way too much time.
Right?
Working.
Yeah.
I had something smart to say, and now I lost it. Meet yourself where you're at. Like, if you're not ready to be fully out or out, like that's okay. Like definitely meet yourself where you're at. And as I did with Lockheed, I would scratch young from your question and just say anyone in general at any time.
Yeah.
Search for, like I did, Google is Lockheed Martin gay friendly, and look for those clues. But I would, dig deeper and like look for pictures and look for like support within it than just them on their website listing out at a BRG. And the only reason I say that is because the last employer I worked for, I was with them and we went public. And right before we went public, all of a sudden we had all these BRGs that didn't exist before.
That's
so
a good point. That's a really
like
good point.
I would search on the images and see, see the employees with the pride flags and all that stuff. So I would just
several of ours occurred in Smith, so
That's a really good point,
that's
actually.
an interesting point.
so yeah, I think that's all I would say. There.
Maybe two things to add. See what benefits they offer. So are they offering benefits that are friendly to the LGBTQ plus community, surrogacy, IVF, et cetera, and then maybe another potential clue you could look at is the organization sponsoring LGBTQ plus like other organizations. So if they're a sponsor of, at least in the actuarial community, Saga is an LGBTQ plus actuarial organization. Is this company sponsoring things like that? Are they sponsoring True Colors in Hartford? Unfortunately shut down, but like is the company sponsoring say LGBTQ plus nonprofits? Could be a nice sign that the company puts money where their mouth is.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for coming today. And I'm going to pause the recording here.